Well, the book Killers of the Flower Moon has spent more than 20 weeks on the New York Times nonfiction bestseller list. The book is set in the 1920s right here in Oklahoma. It involves the murders of Osage Indians, and it's soon going to be coming to a big screen in a movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio and directed by Martin Scorsese. David Grann is the author, and he is actually in Oklahoma today. He's made a stop here before heading over to Tahlequah. Great to meet you.
Thank you for having me on the show.
What prompted you to write this book?
So I had never heard of this story. I did not know that the Osage in the early 20th century were the wealthiest people per capita in the world, and then I did not, because of oil under their land, I did not know that they were then serially murdered, and I did not know that it had become one of the FBI's first major homicide cases. And I made a trip out to the Osage Nation when I first heard this, and I visited the Osage Nation Museum, and they have this great panoramic photograph on the wall there, and it's taken in 1924. It shows members of the Osage Nation along with white settlers. It looks very innocent, but a portion of the photograph was missing. And I asked the then museum director, Catherine Redcorn, who would later become a friend, why was that missing? And she had pointed to that missing panel, and she said because it contained a figure so frightening she decided to remove it. And then she pointed to it and she said the devil was standing right there. And it turned out it was one of the killers of many of the Osage. And the Osage had removed that picture not to forget what happened, but because they can't forget. And yet so many people, including myself, had no knowledge of these events.
As a native Tulsan, I was shocked, and that's a shame. But by bringing this to light, the reign of terror, it was an awful time.
It was one of the most sinister crimes, and conspiracies, and racial injustices in American history. The official death toll was more than 24. There were poisonings, there were shootings. I write about one woman named Molly Burkhart, whose family one by one is being picked off. And the actual death toll, as the Osage know and provided me with evidence, and as the evidence in the archives, which I found demonstrate and prove, is that the real death toll was in the scores, if not hundreds.
And the ultimate goal was to get the rights to that oil.
To get the head rights to that oil. That each Osage had a head right, which basically gave them a share in this mineral trust. And just to give you a sense, in 1923, there were about 2,000 or so Osage on the tribal roll. They received collectively what would be worth more than $400 million. That's an enormous sum. And so the conspiracy was to murder the Osage in order to inherit those rights. And it was really diabolical because these people would marry into families. They would plot for years while they pretended to love you, while simultaneously plotting systematically to murder you and your children.
I want to talk so much more. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. You spent 5 years on this. Real quickly, at any point did you say, I can't do this?
You know, it was hard. You know, in the middle, you sometimes wonder, you know, are you ever going to reach the end? But I would say that when I began the project, I collected photos of many of the victims, and it began with just a few. And by the end, I had dozens. And that was always a reminder of what this book was about.
You can see and hear more today. He's going to be speaking over in Tahlequah, 2 o'clock this afternoon at NSU's campus. The book, Killers of the Flower Moon. I didn't even get to talk about the movie, so I'll do that on Facebook here right after as we go to commercial break. Got it?